Hello, welcome to Muse. My name is Mark Baer. I'm the Executive Director of the Museum of Monterey. We are shooting live in the museum. My guest, Rosen, Monterey Symphony. And
Mark, nice to see you.
Pleasure to have you here. And we meet each other along the way here. We live in this small, amazing town, small town that has this big symphony.
Absolutely.
And how lucky we are.
Thank you.
So let's first of all, let's talk a little bit about a history of the symphony here.
Sure. The Monterey Symphony was founded in 1947. Our first performance was May of that year in the Sunset Center in Carmel. And we had an opportunity at that time to have an organization that began really with some roots some years earlier. There were two impresarios in Carmel whom you may have heard of, Dean Denny and Hazel Watrous, and they were really the individuals who brought much of the culture to the Monterey Peninsula from outside. And interestingly enough, there's been a book that's just been written about them by David Gordon. It's just being published this summer. And it describes the history of music and art organizations and performing arts that came to the Monterey Peninsula in that time frame. And though the symphony wasn't directly a result of their activities, a group of people in 1947, right after the war, believed that the Monterey Peninsula and the Monterey County really needed a symphony orchestra. And so that's how we began. And from that, we now have one of what we consider to be the finest regional orchestras in the state of California.
Well, I've heard it, and it's fabulous. And I'm spoiled coming from the city, and I never feel I'm in a second-rate situation, which I think your audience feels too.
I believe that's right, Mark. We're very fortunate to have music director Max Brigado-Darman.
Yes.
And Max has really developed in the last 9 years that he's been here an orchestra of highest professional caliber. Of course, many of our musicians, unfortunately, are not directly living here on the Monterey Peninsula. They come from all over Northern California mostly, a few from Southern California, a few as far as the East Coast. But our core musicians are what's known as the Freeway Philharmonic, which is kind of a euphemism for the fact that they belong to several orchestras, several professional orchestras in the area, and they play with us when we have our concerts, 6 in our season.
So you mentioned David Gordon, who is a huge musical force here on the peninsula, and involved with the Bach Festival. Yeah. Now, and there's a lot of other music here. It's a pretty interesting ecosystem. And how does everything work together?
Well, fortunately, all of the musical organizations on the peninsula and really in the county are working together very, very nicely. 4 of us are members of what's called the Historical Performing Partners of the Sunset Center, because our roots, as I said, came from the performances in the 30s and 40s that were performed at the Sunset Cultural Center in Carmel. And as a result, the Carmel Bach Festival, the Carmel Music Society, ourselves, the Monterey Symphony, and Chamber Music, Monterey Bay, all work together to have our seasons closely aligned. We hope that many of our audience members goes to each of others' performances. We try to collaborate from time to time on having our guest artists that are the same. A guest artist perhaps would come to the Carmel Music Society, perform a recital, and then come to the Monterey Symphony as a soloist with our orchestra.
We live in this interesting place, and it's really important to create dynamism. And I'm part of what this show is about and what our mission here in this museum is about, again, is to tell the stories of Monterey, but also tell the past, present, and future. And again, that future is about dynamism, and that this continues to be an interesting place to live. And music adds a great deal to that. And I think let's give them a taste of what's exciting coming up.
Absolutely. When we look at one of the things that the Monterey Symphony is trying to do is to collaborate with other organizations. And you have been involved, I know, as a member of the board of the MIS Emissaries.
Yes.
And the Monterey Institute of International Studies has been an important partner of ours this past year. Not only are we trying to engage the students and the faculty and the staff of MIAS to come to our Monterey Symphony performances each year, but also this year we had a chamber concert at MIAS.
Yes.
Our concert master.
An evening of the French masters.
Indeed, and our concert master, Christina Mock, was heavily involved in getting together a trio as well as a quartet that played in May. And it was a wonderful opportunity for us to showcase a small portion of our orchestra in a very intimate setting at MIAS. And we had nearly 300 guests that evening, and it was wonderful.
It was more than wonderful. It was exquisite. It was magical. And having a room full of young people.
Yes.
Lighting up. They were just, you saw that it was, that they were enraptured, getting it. I think some of them never probably been to a concert before. And also the room, because you're so close.
Yes.
So the intimacy of being able to see the hands on the instruments.
Absolutely. Well, that, Mark, is something we're also trying to do. We're trying to ensure that the Monterey Symphony is not considered a stuffy or an organization that caters only to the older community and those that are only involved in attending a symphony performance because they've grown up with it or they've known it in the past. But we want to get other people.
It's something that's from another time.
That's right.
So let's reiterate your comment about at the Sunset Center about overhearing those kids.
Absolutely. At one of our concerts this past season, we had some of the young people from MIS there, and one of them at intermission time was a little bit embarrassed because she had clapped in between the movements. And normally a protocol at a concert is to have only silence between the movements. But it actually shows our orchestra that these young people are involved and want to hear such great music, and we were thrilled to have them clap in between the movements.
And you went up and told them.
Absolutely. No problem at all.
And I'm sure they appreciated that.
Absolutely.
Well, so what's this year?
Well, this coming year, we're very excited because it's part of our collaboration. The first item on our season is in early October, and we're collaborating with the Carmel International Film Festival.
Oh, fabulous.
And we're actually the first event that will be part of the film festival. Our opening concert weekend will be the screening of Fantasia.
Wow.
And that will be accompanied live by our orchestra. And we're really excited about having the opportunity to have a film in the background, our orchestra playing the soundtrack. And it will be conducted by another one of our collaborators, not Max Brigado Darman for the first concert, but a gentleman by the name of Juan Felipe Milano, who is the music director for YOSAL, the youth orchestra in Salinas, that is working so closely with young kids all the way from elementary school into really early middle school. To use an orchestra as a model, a role model of how to work together. And with a number of the underprivileged kids in Salinas, this has really been fantastic program that they've put together, and Juan Felipe has been very much instrumental in that.
So I'm going to ask you a more difficult question. Why is music important?
Music is really important in everyday life because one gets so much from listening to music. It transports you to a different place. And many people feel that music is a healing capability, that it can engender so much emotion. And what we try to do with the Monterey Symphony is to present that emotion, present it live. It's different than hearing a recording, a CD or a DVD even. When you hear the performance live, you get the perspective from the musicians of dimension, of dynamism, as you said. And that's what's so important for a lot of people. To engage with music and really understand music.
And do you have the opportunity I understand the economics of this, and the economics of a symphony are crushing. But do you get the chance to experiment with new music every once in a while?
We do indeed. And another season opportunity that we have this year will be in November. Where we have a 20th century piece. It's called Chicka Bone Checkout. It was composed by a Swede, Christian Lindberg, who is a very famous trombonist in Europe. And it was composed for a member of the Chicago Symphony, Charlie Vernon, who will be actually our soloist in November for the piece. So he's coming out to play this piece that was commissioned by the Chicago Symphony for him. And it's a brand new work, only been performed a few times, and should be very, very exciting. And it is about the city of Chicago, and we call the performance City Lights, and we're really looking forward to having this program as well.
So Lee, one of the other things that I wanted to ask you about in dealing with the community and things that we're very mindful of here at the museum is working with volunteers. How does a volunteer get involved with you?
We, of course, being a nonprofit organization, have a very small staff. And it's very important to have individuals that help us with all the needs that we have. Everything from fundraising events to clerical work in the office, our mailings, all of those kinds of things. And we invite all walks of life to help us, and all the members of the county who are interested in music, interested in helping a nonprofit organization, if they wish, to get in touch with us at the Monterey Symphony, and we can always put them to work.
And before we go, what's the website? How do they find you?
We find ourselves at www.montereysymphony.org, and we have all of our the rest of our season on that website, and we invite everybody to take a look at what we have to offer.
How much fun is this? Look what we can do in a museum.
Indeed.
My guest, Lee Rosen, thank you so much.
Thank you.